My environment was really bad. I hung out with drug dealers, so I did drugs, sold drugs. I was tired of being in pain. I made my appointments with my doc, explained to him my symptoms. He did blood work. I had high blood pressure, erectile dysfunction, high blood sugar levels, almost be diabetic. Not once did my doctor ask me, what are you eating? Let's discuss your lifestyle. Right? Before anybody's even diagnosed with diabetes, it's 6 to 14 years with insulin resistance.
Ben Azadi is the New York Times bestselling author of Metabolic Freedom.
The founder of Keto Kamp, a movement inspiring millions worldwide, and the host of the Metabolic Freedom podcast.
Ben is helping people everywhere unlock energy, reverse disease, and reclaim their lives.
Going to hear some information right now that's going to change your life if you apply it right now. So listen to this episode. I'm introducing you to Ben Azadi. Ben, thank you for being here, man.
What an honor to be here with the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Congrats on the podcast. It looks great.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be here, bro.
Yeah, listen, I have to start here. I remember the first seminar you showed up at. Talk about that day.
That was April of 2018 in Boca Raton, Florida. Yeah. I had been following your videos on YouTube. You were one of the first people on YouTube with your cellular healing TV.
That's so true.
Yeah, now you have the Pompa Podcast. And you were coming to Florida. And of course, I lived in Miami at this time. I was living in a moldy home, unbeknownst to me. And I was also owning a CrossFit gym, dealing with a lot of health stuff. And I loved your work. So I said, I got to see this guy in person. So you came to Boca, Live It to Lead It seminar, April of 2018. I'm there sitting, not knowing what to expect, right? You're the first speaker who comes on stage, and you probably spoke for 50 minutes, that first lecture. And within those 50 minutes, I already was in the health space for about 10 years, and I learned more in those 50 minutes than I learned in 10 years studying health and nutrition. I always say it's like you took my head off of my body, flipped it around, and then everything I thought to be true about health was the complete opposite. You were talking about silver amalgam fillings leaching into your mouth, 50% is mercury.
Yeah.
I remember going to the restroom at the hotel and opening up my mouth and seeing 8 fillings. I'm like, oh, I got a problem, right? And I just fell in love with the message, your heart, your strong faith. And I said to myself that I want to know everything this man knows, meaning you, and I want you to teach it to me, although I don't know how that was going to look like. And now it's manifested into some great things.
Oh my God. It's like I've watched you spread this message throughout the world, and it just makes me so happy. It's amazing. And in so many ways you communicated better than me, and I love that. So just because you're bad. Oh God, we have so much to share today. So much, because diabetes, metabolic problems, weight loss resistance, energy problems, brain fog, all these things. Your new book, Metabolic Freedom, hold it up right now. I mean, wow.
Yes.
I think this encapsulates so much of what you and I are both passionate about.
It does.
Yeah. In a simple way.
And of course, your fingerprints are all over the book and all over all my work. And it's such an important topic, metabolic health, because in the US, we spend $4.6 trillion on healthcare every year. And if that was the GDP, it would be the 4th largest GDP in the world. And you would think, okay, that must mean we're probably top 5 in health.
Must be.
Or top 10. Nope. Top 20?
Yeah. Nope.
Top 30?
No.
We're like, 37-ish, right?
Yeah.
Yet pharmaceutical companies are richer than ever before, and we're sicker than ever before. And what's interesting about that amount of money we spend on healthcare is that 1 out of every $4 are spent on diabetes, primarily type 2.
1 out of every $4.
1 out of every $4 spent on healthcare.
Wow.
And we know diabetes type 2 is preventable, reversible, to metabolic.
I always say it's so easy.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. And yet people are just loading up with medications on those medications. How long, Doc? Forever.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. And because they don't know differently. They think it's genetic, and, you just got unlucky. You got it because your mother or father had it, and you're on these medications the rest of your life. Hogwash, we say, and you're going to learn exactly what you need to do to reverse these types of conditions. Your body has the ability to heal it. We don't heal anything. All right, let's go back. Let's go back, because pain to purpose, right? What got you here? I mean, talk about your childhood a little bit, right? And then, the evolution with your father. But your story's really, it's what brought you here.
Yeah.
Tell it.
Yeah, I followed a standard American diet as a kid, like so many of us do. And we know how processed the food is. Parents were divorced. I'm first generation American. Mom worked 3 jobs. 2 of those jobs was at a Kentucky Fried Chicken. You actually got to meet my mom recently at the book launch party.
Yeah.
And she did the best she could do to try to make ends meet, right? She brought me home fried chicken. I was a happy kid.
Yeah.
But I fell into some really bad habits. We become our environment. My environment was really bad. I hung out with drug dealers. So I did drugs, sold drugs.
And by the way, that was a part of your story that I didn't know until recently.
Yeah.
Like you did drugs and sold drugs. Ben Azadi, how I ended up learning that part of the story is we passed a mall when we were in Miami. And
Aventura Mall. Yeah, that's right.
Aventura Mall.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh yeah, that's right. Like sold drugs and did drugs. Hung out there all day. You're a mall rat, right?
I was high all day.
And I'm like, really? Like you? Like, okay, I couldn't. It didn't even seem like the same person.
I know. It doesn't seem like the same. It seems like a completely different life. But that was my little life. You know, I was very unhealthy, depressed, addictions to drugs and also to sugar and video games. And nothing changed as an adult. It was
but by the way, you described many children today.
Yeah, it's worse today. Yeah. It is worse today, especially with social media and the availability of drugs out there. And 2007, I was 23 years old, and I was rock bottom. I was going through a bad breakup. I was 250 pounds, 34% body fat.
250 pounds, age 23 years old. Wow.
34% body fat. My knees and back and body were so inflamed that shopping mall, Aventura Mall, when I knew I was going to the mall and I was going to walk for more than an hour, I would have to wear knee sleeves and back braces as a 23-year-old.
And by the way, you see many people with those on today.
I know.
Yeah, like people like far younger than all of us.
It's insane. Yeah. So I was tired of being in pain. You know, I made my appointments with my doctor and I would explain to him my symptoms. He did blood work. I had high blood pressure, erectile dysfunction, high blood sugar levels, almost pre-diabetic. Not once did my doctor ask me, what are you eating? Or let's discuss your lifestyle. Right? The question he was thinking was, what can I prescribe for this young man? Yeah. And he suggested certain medications. And I thought I was too young to take it. So I didn't go on any medication.
Thank God, because those medications would have led to other medications.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would probably not be here today. I'd probably be on 30 other medications like so many people. But I wanted to give up. I was tired of being in pain. I was actually on, like when 23 years old, think about that. People are starting their career, maybe building a family, graduating school. For me, I was on the internet looking for ways to end my life. And my mom stopped me, not because she knew I was doing that, but because God kept telling me, what about your mom? God was speaking to me. Every time I explored suicide, he would talk to me and say, what about your mother? And it would stop me from taking my life. I didn't want to cause that devastation for my mom. So it forced me to figure things out. And it started with self-development.
Thinking back to that moment now, when you were thinking about taking your life and the thought of your mom, how does it make you feel now? And then what were you feeling then as best you can go back? Like, what was the feeling you had?
I was numb. I was it's hard to explain. Like when you're depressed, I mean, you understand. Yeah. I mean, but to people who have not been there, it's hard to explain. It's like a cloud. It's like there might be times where you have fun, but fun and happiness are very different.
Very different.
You know, fun is very shallow and it's not long-lived.
Do you think it was biochemical, meaning like it wasn't because of the life you were living? It wasn't your chemistry was off in your body?
Well, at this time, I had 8 fillings in my mouth.
Yeah. The 50% mercury going into
my brain. I got them all.
Which we know causes depression and numbness. And
and I got them in when I was a kid from my dentist. So that was a part of it. I felt like just giving up because I was crying every day. So much to the point where I would have to call my friends over to hang out with me because all I wanted to do when I was alone was find out ways to end my life. I was just tired of being in pain. I had no hope. I saw no light at the end of the tunnel. And it wasn't really until I started studying.
Real fast. Do you think, at that point, did you make any connection to what you were doing in your lifestyle? Meaning your diet, and you make any connection at all as a 23-year-old?
I didn't. I thought there was a lifestyle connection, but I didn't know where to start. Okay. So I didn't know what I was doing. It made sense to me.
Did you think you were fat just because you were unlucky, your genetics? Or?
I thought I was fat because of bad genes. My dad was fat. All my dad was diabetic. And I thought I was just bad genes and my enabling family members and a slow metabolism.
And I could probably eat a little better, but that's not the big reason.
Correct. Okay. Right. So I could exercise and eat better, but I'm kind of doomed by the genetics that I have. Look at my dad.
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
He was diabetic at that
And the
time.
reason I ask that is because I think most people run that course of thought. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you and I both have coached and counseled enough people, right, to be like, they run that thought, right, until one day they go, oh, wait, I'm not just unlucky. Oh, wait, there's actually something I have to change, right? People have to go through that process.
And that's responsibility.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
people don't take responsibility. They don't take ownership. That's the first step towards great change. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I started studying Bob Proctor, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, all these incredible people. And the first thing they taught me is to take responsibility.
What age was that, though? Hold on. Yeah.
23. Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't know that happened then.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that transition? Because these guys are, these are people who transform the way people think
They're thought
and
leaders.
lead them to success, right? So how did you get from where you were depressed, wanting to kill yourself, to these guys who helped you make that transition?
My best friend Ronald and Carla, who you met at my book launch party briefly,
I did. Yeah.
They saw how much of a difficult time I was having. So they handed me a book and they said, read this book. I think it'll help you. I remember the book. It was called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And the book just teaches you that your daily habits compound over time to get your results, whether it's good or bad. So it started to help me understand that I'm at this point, not because it happened overnight or over a year. It's my life's work of habits throughout my life that have compounded to why I'm so unhealthy and unhappy.
Okay.
That one book led to me exploring other authors, which led to Dr. Wayne Dyer's books and Bob Proctor's books. And then I just started to fall in love with these authors, just teaching the message of taking responsibility, understanding how your thoughts influence your health. And I worked on that first before I moved my body, before I started exercising or eating better.
And you still listen to these books.
Still do.
We were driving down from a seminar we both taught at, and boom, put it on in the car.
Yeah, we were listening together to Bob Proctor.
And it's like, immediately I was like, man, I need to listen to this stuff more, because in that whatever time we had, it's like, that stuff, right? It just changes the way we think.
It
right?
does. It changes your paradigm.
Yeah. And you would say that was the tipping point for you. It helped you, listening to these guys on tape or reading the books, got you to think differently, take responsibility, right?
That's it.
Okay. So that was the tipping point. So people listening to this, that's what you do. It's like you become who you hang around. Well, I can't hang around these guys. Well, you can listen to their stuff, right?
And the cool thing about doing this, what we're saying right here, is that you don't even have to take notes. You're not going to be quizzed on it. Just listen every day.
Yeah, exactly.
20 minutes a day.
Yeah. And that one tape we were listening to, it was
Bob Proctor's Ultimate Library Collection.
Yeah. And I still have to get that from you, because
I'm listening to it right now for the 53rd time in a row.
I was gonna. He answered the question. How many times? Because you told me.
53. I was listening
think
on the
back
plane
then you
last
were
night.
like, I think it was like 43 or
Yep.
whatever. Like when we
53
listened.
right now.
Yeah,
I listened to on the plane ride.
Same tape, same information. You could probably speak a lot of it, but why have you listened to it 53 times?
Every time I listen to it, my life gets better. It's not that it's new information, but I'm new. I'm different every time I listen to it.
Yeah.
So, dude, everything improves. My health, my relationships, my business, my finances. And as long as that's happening, I'm going to keep listening to that audio for the rest of my life.
Dang, you're good, man. He's so good, isn't he? Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that could be a breakthrough for anyone listening who's stuck, right? It's like, put something new in your brain.
Every day.
Yeah.
20 minutes a day.
Because how many thoughts do we have in a day? 60-some thousand?
60,000.
Okay.
On average.
So on average, I have more than most people. So, no, I'm kidding. It's a total joke. That would be a bad thing anyway. Too many thoughts. Actually.
Yeah. You want to slow down.
Yeah, exactly. You want to slow down. Okay. So, but the point is imagine if we changed our thoughts, is what that did to you, right? It just changed your thoughts. It got your brain thinking different. And if you change your thoughts, you change your life.
That's right. Yeah. Every thought, you lecture on this. We know this from Dr. Bruce Lipton. Every single thought is a frequency.
Yeah.
That's telling your DNA to produce a certain job.
Absolutely.
Inflammatory thought, inflammatory proteins.
Yeah. And that's not woo-woo. That is science. Your thoughts are a frequency. That's how they work. And they communicate with your cells, integral membrane proteins like hormone receptors on your cells. And then it tells your DNA what to do, what to produce, and it tells what proteins to make. And then literally you become a new you, a better you or a worse you, depending on your thoughts.
That's right.
Yeah.
And our cells are duplicating or are recycling every single day. And you could recycle them into healthier cells with your thoughts.
So in other words, let's, if we have a scale of cells health, right? 10s being the best, 1s being not so good. Okay. If that 23-year-old you were a 1 or a 2 cell health.
sure.
Right? Well, if you're considering death, I mean, you're definitely
0.5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe 0.5. Okay, so yeah, your cell health. Now, here's the problem: is ones duplicate ones, meaning you make cells from cells. So ones breed ones. Ones don't breed tens. Tens breed tens. 8 breeds 8s. Yeah. So the point is, you change your thoughts by listening to these tapes, and then all of a sudden now maybe you brought yourself up to 5s. 5s are making 5s. Okay, that's better. And then you start changing some other things in your life, and and dietarily, because now you had the brain, the ability to actually change some of these things, and the thought pattern, your premise changed of, oh, I am responsible.
That's right.
It wasn't just my genetics. I can change this. So talk about that.
That word you just said, responsible. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't really understand the real meaning of that word. And I didn't too. When I was 23, I always heard the word responsibility. Okay, what does it actually mean?
Well, 23, responsibility is a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like discipline and hard work.
Parents are saying, you just need to be responsible.
Correct.
Responsible meant clean my room. I have no interest.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's how I felt. Mm-hmm. Dr. Wayne Dyer said, responsibility is your ability to respond to life. That's all it is. So if your ability to respond to life is great, meaning you're taking ownership, you're responding, not reacting, you get great results. But if your ability to respond is poor, you're the victim, you're blaming your genetics, you're blaming your circumstances, you get poor results.
That's a reactor.
That's a reactor versus a responder.
And I say that's 97% of the population. They live their life in effect.
That's right.
Not what is the cause, right? Effect.
That's right.
Okay.
And we know through Viktor Frankl, who was
I love Viktor Frankl's
right,
books.
Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
He said in that book, in between stimulus and response, there's a space. And it might be a fraction of a second, but in that second, in that space, lies your power. Mm. So that stimulus could be somebody cutting you off in traffic. It could be somebody yelling at you, an argument, whatever happens that pisses you off. But there's a gap there, and you have the option. It's your choice to respond to the stimulus, or like you said, 97% of people are going through the motions and they're just reacting, and their nervous system is shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much reaction leads to burnout.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people are so burned out. But you have a choice to absolutely respond in a healthy way that favors you, right?
That's right.
You learned that. Yeah. And I would say living your life in effect, in reaction, obviously creates health problems, but it becomes a habit that you all of a sudden think diabetes is just something that you were born with and destined for, as opposed to the other, flip that once you learn that, holy cow, there's actually, I caused this.
That's right.
Knowing or unknowingly, irrelevant, I caused it. Therefore, there's a cause. It's not you're unlucky. And therefore, I can actually remove the cause.
That's
you
right.
went through that.
100%.
Okay, so what changed and what age? When did you make
23 to 24 years old.
Okay.
It's interesting how you could just hear one message or read one line and it can give you a complete paradigm shift.
What was that one?
Bob Proctor, he said, you are the only problem you will ever have, and you are the only solution.
That's great.
It changed my paradigm. Like, it just immediately, like, wow. At first I was like, that doesn't make any sense, Bob. And I thought about it. I'm like, I am my only problem. I'm also my only solution. Yeah. So whenever I need to handle something, I have access to that person. Like, it's me. It's not my genetics. It's not whatever I'm blaming, the stinking thinking.
Absolutely.
It's me, right?
It's me. I'm the problem.
So I am the problem. So as soon as I heard, it completely changed my paradigm, right? So, and I'm getting better and better at it. We all sometimes react to things, but the better you get, the more awareness you have, it just changes your state. I'm at a point, and I think you are too, Dr. Pompa, that I feel like I'm unmessable with. Like, bad things could happen, and it probably will. Bad things do happen, but I feel like I could handle it. I could handle whatever comes my way because I'm not going to react to it. I'm going to take a moment to respond, and I'm the only solution. So I'll have a consultation with myself and figure it out. And that's a pretty cool point to get to, but most people don't live like that. They're blaming whatever, the politics, they're blaming their government, they're blaming XYZ, which it's so easy to do that. And
it's easier. There's almost a high from that.
There's a high because they get offended and you get a dopamine rush, and there's definitely a benefit. There's a payoff there. But like with obesity, for example, which we know 50%, Harvard is saying by 2030, people are going to be obese in the US.
Yeah.
That's in less than 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There was somebody on 60 Minutes from the government a couple years ago saying that obesity is completely genetics. Nothing you can do about it. Victim mindset. But we have Ozempic, we have GLP-1s.
It makes us feel a little better if you're obese and you hear that, right? Because you go, oh, well, you know what? I don't have to do anything, number one. So responsibility is less,
right?
And it's not my fault, number two, right? So, hey, I'm good.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It feels good. You know?
Yeah.
Same thing with diabetes. And I tell you, it's strictly genetics, but that is a victim mindset. It's not true. You know, we have control over our genetics. You teach this all the time. Yeah. We turn on genes, we turn off genes. 99% probably of all of these genetic expressions, or I should say diseases, are lifestyle based. There might be some strict genetic diseases. I don't know what you think. Maybe they're 1%.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's around 2-3% max is what I've heard.
Small percentage. Yeah. So anyways, it starts with ownership. And you could apply that to every area in your life.
Yeah, that is where it starts. So what happened? So you started taking ownership, right? What was the first thing you changed?
So I started studying, but then I started moving my body. Started doing things that I enjoy doing, like cycling. And we have a lot in common with our perfect storm and cycling and all that. So cycling, basketball. Then I started eating better.
Less video games.
Finding more passion and purpose in like health and nutrition. And that's another thing there. I think a lot of people numb themselves with bad behaviors and addictions because they don't have purpose. So I started to gain a purpose in life.
It's huge.
Huge. That's because I stopped wanting to do the bad things to my body. I wanted to give my body fuel for the passion and the purpose. And then in 9 months, I lost 80 pounds. I went from 250 to 170, 34% body fat to 6% body fat at my lowest.
Yeah.
And completely transformed my physical appearance. And I say I achieved the mental six-pack as well as a physical six-pack.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's what got me in the space 17 years ago.
Yeah. And then here you were. And then something kind of unexpected happened, right? You were like struggling again with the weight. Take us through that.
Yeah. So I did, went through the weight loss transformation. But then I started to feel off again, bloating, afternoon fatigue, which turned into like all day fatigue. So I thought the solution at first was actually a vegan diet. So I did a vegan plant-based diet in 2012 for a year and a half. Did not work at all.
Did it make you feel better in the beginning?
It did. Yeah.
Yeah. Because most people, they do. Yeah. They feel better in the beginning and then they forget it's the diet.
Correct.
And they start not feeling better.
And I think a big part of that was the placebo effect because I thought it would make me feel better.
Okay.
And we would never negate the placebo effect, right?
Exactly.
But I stuck with it too long. So I felt inflamed. And then in 2013 is where I started to study ketosis and fasting. That's actually when I came across your work a little bit, 2013, 2014. You, Mercola, Dave Asprey, Mark Sisson, who you've had on the podcast. Yeah. You were kind of like the first guys that I started studying. And then I started doing keto and fasting. And then it took me to the next level. Started getting results. Yeah. And then I was spending money on supplements, like $500 a month. And then a year later, health started to decline again, started to gain weight, started to have fatigue, belly fat, afternoon. I remember I was doing personal training and I would travel to clients and train them all over Miami. And I would feel like it's just so tired, like driving on the highway midday to like, I would have to cancel appointments, go home and nap. And dude, I was 28 years old. And I was doing keto, fasting, CrossFit.
What's wrong? I'm doing all these good things.
Taking the supplements, right? And then of course, that's when 2018 comes around and I discover you and I discovered it's a toxicity issue.
That's right.
I had 8 fillings in my mouth. I had lead that I got from my mom. I was living in a moldy home.
Yeah.
It was very similar, perfect storm.
Looking back, you're like, yeah, that was part of my demise even at 23.
Correct.
Yeah. It's just you didn't get to that part.
Correct. My stress bucket just wasn't as full yet. Then it started to fill up as I was going through my 20s.
Exactly.
So it wasn't until I addressed that, going upstream, learning your protocols and detoxing myself, that now I'm 40 and I turned 41 in a few months. And I could honestly say I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. I get the best recovery in between workouts. I got amazing energy levels. Like I'm lean.
Yeah.
I have metabolic freedom, metabolic flexibility. I'm cognitively sharp. Like, and I'm, I feel the best I've ever felt in my life because I've went upstream and done all the things you taught me to do.
Here we sit, right? I'm 60, you're 40, 41. And, we feel better than we did when we were younger. Yeah. I mean, that should give people a lot of hope, right? I mean, honestly, it's, we're both more fit. We're both healthier. Our brains work better. It's like, so it's not age.
No, it's not.
Arguably in your 20s, you should be able to run through walls, right? It's like, no, not so much. But, but it does take that responsibility right?
That's the first step to great change.
You know, and as you said, like toxicity plays a huge role in, you know, how we actually get our lives back, especially today. You know, I just interviewed Justine Stanger and she said it. She's like, yeah, diet today doesn't get people well. She said just diet change, right? It's like, but I always like to say, you may not get well without changing your diet, but you're not going to get well just with it. Meaning so many toxins have accumulated in our tissues, our cells that are causing cellular disruption. You better deal with that eventually. You were forced to deal with that. Yeah. My son, Simon, who lost 75 pounds, I'm like, you better deal with the toxicity. You better deal. You've heard me talk to Simon. You've talked to Simon.
I have, yeah.
And he was forced to deal with the toxicity. He lost all the weight. I'm better. Then he wasn't. And then he had to deal with the toxins, right? You went through that same.
I did. So many people go through that.
The percentage of people with diabetes that's toxin related, that's not being talked about out there. But toxins.
Well, we're talking about it.
Yeah, we're talking about it. You talk about it in your book.
Yep, chapter 4.
And, you know, you have such a great way of writing to make things so simple. Make that simple for them.
Yeah, they're called diabetogens, right? We've heard of obesogens. Yep. Now there's a new classification called diabetogens. And you always say the number one priority for the human body is survival. Yeah. The body wants to survive. It will do everything at all costs, even if that means developing diseases and cancer and diabetes later. So when these toxins, which are more than ever before that we've ever experienced, enter the body through the cleaning supplies, through the air that we breathe, the food supplies, you know, is the perfect delivery, the silver amalgam fillings, through utero, moldy home. I mean, we could sit here for hours and talk about all of the exposures. When it enters the body thinks we need to survive. So it shuttles these toxins out of the bloodstream where it could enter vital organs and kill you. And it activates PPAR gamma, which is interesting. So I was thinking about this pathway, PPAR gamma, which simply is a pathway that gets turned on to shuttle those toxins out of the bloodstream to your fat cells, your adipocytes. It's kind of like what insulin does with blood sugar.
That's why my son Simon lost all the weight, and he saw all of a sudden anxiety and neurological
dumped a whole bunch of toxins. Yeah. And the reason it does this is because the solution to pollution is dilution. Innate intelligence knows. I could dilute these toxins by putting them into your fat cells. And if you run out of room for your fat cells, they could increase those fat cells or even create new fat cells. So these are called obesogens. So
it makes you fat that way.
Makes you fat.
Just by literally making more storage houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a good strategy.
Very smart for survival, right? That's why they're called obesogens. They make obese humans and animals. Yeah. But then we have these new classifications that I haven't heard anybody talk about it besides you and I. I don't know if you've seen anybody else. There might be somebody else talking about it, but these are specific chemicals, these heavy metals that trigger beta cell dysfunction in the pancreas. Okay, what does that mean? That means your pancreas produces insulin, and when there's dysfunction there, you will have higher levels of glucose, which then triggers prediabetes and eventually diabetes. So in short, these are toxins that cause diabetes. They're called diabetogens. And we're seeing every year an increase of all diabetic cases being linked to this. Not even the sugar, not even the carbs, or even in some cases seed oils, but these actual toxins.
Well, that's why there's so many people with metabolic conditions, even weight loss resistance, right? Challenging insulin and glucose symptoms, if you will. And they'll tell you, I've changed my diet. And yet, my doctor's right. I still have to stay on these medications. It may be that they haven't addressed this.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cellular inflammation.
Yeah.
It's not the blood sugar, right? This is where diabetes medication might look like you're getting better because the blood sugar is improved, but the excess blood sugar in a diabetic is the symptom, not the cause. The cause is cellular inflammation.
Yeah.
So by superficially or artificially taking medication
to lower
the blood sugar, the disease progresses and gets worse. People don't even die from diabetes. It's very rare.
It's true.
They're dying from the complications of it. We saw it with my dad.
Yeah.
It's what the diadiabetes leads to. It's not the diabetes itself.
Yeah.
So it's not about the blood sugar. It's about the cellular inflammation.
You know, so much of my drive, motivation, especially around studying the brain, came out from my mother. And I don't tell that story that often. It's emotional for me for different reasons. But my mother died of, she had post-stroke dementia. The stroke killed her in the end, right? I mean, it was, but she lived this horrible existence with post-stroke dementia. And I felt like, maybe there was more that I could do if I only learned this now. Well, it's like, I learned a lot about the brain, and because of my mother. Your father was that for you. Tell that story, because you watched your father, and then, it really was, again, part of the pain to purpose.
Yeah. Well, my dad had type 2 diabetes, and I didn't understand it back then. He had it my whole life, even as a kid, and definitely as an adult, he had it. And it progressed year after year. And in my early 20s, I would take my father to his doctor's appointments every month, follow the standard of care from his conventional doctors. He needs to go on insulin. He needs to go on metformin. We'll monitor him, come back every month. Here's a grocery list of what I want you to buy. So every Tuesday, I would go to my dad, pick him up, take him to the supermarket. And we've actually been to the exact supermarket.
I remember the day we did a video.
We did a video at the exact supermarket.
Because in the video, you showed me the foods that they told him to eat.
Correct. So it was Fiber One bars, Gatorade Zero. They said for
Imagine.
They said for him to have candy in his pocket at all times in case his blood sugars dropped too low, and he didn't.
Well, I remember them telling my grandmother that. I mean, that was diabetic. It's funny, as a child, you just struck this in my brain. I thought that candy was good for diabetics, and I remember sitting as a child. Gosh, I wish I was diabetic because I could eat all the candy I wanted.
Wow.
Because my grandmother always had to have candy because she had diabetes. Oh, wait. I'm like, why does grandma get to eat candy? Well, because she has diabetes.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it was part of the solution.
Yeah. No, it makes sense as a kid. Like, okay, then give me diabetes. I want candy.
Yeah. I'm like, gosh, I wish I had diabetes so I could eat all that candy grandma eats, Anyway,
that
struck
crazy.
that in me.
Sure.
So they told your father the same thing.
Yeah, same thing, right? Yeah. So anyways, I would take him to his doctor's appointments. I would buy the groceries, and I would make sure he was taking his medication every Tuesday. And he got worse. He's gained weight, losing his vision. He was dealing with diabetic neuropathy, which starts out with like pins and needles in your feet, and then it's full on burning, and it's inflamed, and it's hard to walk. And it was
what's really happening there?
You're losing blood flow and oxygen delivery and nutrient delivery to your extremities because of the glucose. Glucose is destroying nitric oxide. It's destroying your tissues. And you're losing your vision.
You're literally degenerating.
Yeah, you are. And it doesn't happen overnight. And let me take a second. Before anybody's even diagnosed with diabetes, like
they have it.
It's 6 to 14 years with insulin resistance. That's what the studies show. Whitehall study too. I have it in the book here.
And when we throw that term out, insulin resistance, what is insulin resistance? Meaning, I always say so many people don't feel well because they have hormone resistance.
Yeah.
Insulin resistance, estrogen resistance, testosterone. What is that?
Insulin is a hormone that is responsible. It's an energy sensor. So it's responsible for taking excess blood sugar out of the bloodstream and putting it into your cells.
Where you can use it.
Where you can use it for energy. And let's say you have a high carbohydrate meal. Even if it's not healthy, it could be processed carbs. You'll have an increase in your blood sugar levels. Insulin will get produced by your pancreas to clear that, so it regulates your blood sugar levels. We have very tightly mechanisms in place.
So we're meant to eat carbohydrates. Your body can deal with that because the system works. It works.
It's fine until there's some disruption. What we have been calling this metabolic blackout, where the receptor sites for insulin are now inflamed, primarily through toxins, but also through constant glucose and insulin spikes as well, and stress and other factors. But now it's toxins being number one. Now those receptor sites that used to hear the message for insulin, they're starting to not hear it as well. Right? It's like if you listen to music 24/7 for years, you go kind of deaf.
What's that band you always give?
The Killers.
The Killers. I never even heard of the Killers.
They're the greatest rock band in the history of this world.
So you say. I never even heard of them until you. I'm like, Killers.
They're underrated. That's why.
I'm like, Killers?
They're the best.
How many of you heard of Killers?
If you're watching on YouTube and you listen to the Killers, let me know and comment down below. They're the best.
Yeah.
And they're still around.
Wow, Killers, okay.
So it's like I listened to the
Killers.
Killers.
Have I heard one song of theirs?
Mr. Brightside, you've heard. Yeah.
How's it go?
We'll play it in the car.
I did go and giving you a little ring-a-ding-ding with it.
Jealousy turning saints into the sea because I'm Mr. Brightside. You have to hear it.
I had no idea if I ever
They
heard
play it
that.
at every sports game. It's okay. We'll
all
play it
right.
in your car when we drive to your house now.
Promise? No, I'm kidding.
But
sorry.
If I listen to the Killers 24/7 with headphones for years, I'm going to go deaf to the music, right?
Yeah.
When we're having these constant glucose insulin spikes from carbohydrates and even cellular inflammation, we go deaf. So what happens is now you're resistant to the hormone insulin resistance.
So you either have to turn the music up louder
by either taking medication
yeah.
and forcing it into the cell,
yeah.
which is not the solution,
Mm-hmm.
but you actually go more deaf, and then you trigger diabetes.
Yeah.
And that takes 6 to 14 years, meaning
Wow.
your blood sugars and A1C will not change for 6 to 14 years, even though you have full-blown insulin resistance.
What are the best tests for someone? Because if I'm out there listening to this, I'm thinking, well, how do I know? How do I know? What tests should they take? Because the doctor won't even say anything to you until you have diabetes.
Correct.
And
They're not running a fasting insulin.
Right. Okay. So what
That's
test?
the test.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a blood test. It's called a fasting insulin blood test.
Okay.
It's not the same as a fasting glucose, and it's not the same as an A1C.
And what should that number be?
For a fasting insulin, it should be between 3 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So you go into that test 12 to 14 hours without food. Simple blood draw. It's cheap if you have to pay out of pocket. And if it's between 3 and 6, you're very insulin sensitive.
Okay.
If you're 12, 17, 21, it's insulin resistance. But the reference range is between 3 and 28.
So people look and go, hey, I'm normal.
It's not going to be flagged.
That's why I asked the normal, because people will go, they'll run out and get that test and they'll go, whew, yeah,
that's
I'm
right.
okay. I'm not what Ben said.
And your conventional doctor will never order that test. And I know you know why, but do you all know why? Why would your doctor order a fasting insulin test when they cannot prescribe a medication for high insulin? Why would I run that if there's not a prescription? But they could run a glucose because they could run a prescription for that.
Yeah.
But that takes 6 to 14 years before you see a change.
Yeah. So the insulin reacts first. That's why it's the best test. There's a couple other tests you like.
Yeah, and a fasting glucose is great.
Yeah.
An A1C is great.
Mm-hmm.
An A1C is looking at the 3-month average of your glucose.
Right.
And if that's elevated,
and that one will creep up early before your glucose shows, before your doctor would tell you have a problem. But again, it's a different range. Tell them the range, because if they look at that normal range, they'll be normal, not normal.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you want your A1C to be 5.2% or below.
Mm-hmm.
That's considered a healthy A1C.
Yeah.
It's not the be-all, end-all metric. There's some
Right.
exceptions there. You want to look at...
There's some other things you can throw that test
Correct.
off.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to look at insulin I think is more important than both those tests.
Yeah.
But you could always put on a continuous glucose monitor, see what meals are doing to you. There's so many different things you can do.
Yeah, meaning these are getting more popular, these continuous glucose monitors. And it's how you react to a meal and then how quickly you come back.
Correct.
Kind of explain that, because a lot of people have these.
Yeah, and you could use a continuous glucose monitor, or you could prick your finger with like the Keto Mojo. We both like that.
Yeah.
And essentially, you would test your blood sugar levels before you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's 85 milligrams per deciliter, which is good. It's a good fasting glucose. You eat your meal, and then 2 hours later, you test your glucose again, whether it's the finger prick or the continuous glucose monitor. If you had a healthy response from that meal, meaning you produced the right amount of insulin, your glucose 2 hours after, which is called postprandial glucose, should be back to baseline, around 85 milligrams per deciliter.
Yeah.
If you see it elevated, that means you didn't produce enough insulin. If you see it shoot down, it means you produced too much. So both are bad.
And that could lead to someone saying, I have hypoglycemia.
Yeah.
And I feel horrible. So how does that fit in all this, the hypoglycemia?
They're sugar burners. They need to be fat. They think the solution is that they need to eat every 2 to 3 hours, right?
They do, yeah.
Oh, I'm hypoglycemic.
I have to eat every 2 to 3 hours.
I get jittery.
Okay, you're on your way to being a diabetic. It's like you have to deal with the problem here.
If that's you, test your fasting insulin, and I would bet that it's elevated. Your glucose might not show it yet, but your insulin's going to be up.
Yeah.
The solution is to slowly lower the carbs, slowly increase fats and proteins, start eliminating snacks, and get
Let's
fat
talk
adapted.
about that because, the name of your podcast, Keto Kamp, right? And matter of fact, where do they tell them how to find that? Where do they find that? It's spelled with a K. So.
Yeah, well, then the podcast is now named Metabolic Freedom. We changed it. Yeah, Keto Kamp is the company.
Yeah, Keto Kamp's the company.
So Metabolic Freedom Podcast, you've been a guest, I think 7 times. You were guest number 1.
That's great.
July of 2019.
Yeah.
You were the first episode.
I should have gave you that honor, but my wife had to have that.
No, come on.
Okay.
So we're 1,031 episodes in.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
You were episode number 1, and you've been on several times. Anyways, Metabolic Freedom, it's available on all podcast platforms, YouTube. But the first step is to help you burn fat, to get fat adapted, right? Yeah. And you have the brilliant 2-2-2 rule, which is such a brilliant idea where you incorporate healthy fats, you lower carbohydrates slowly, you eliminate snacking, you get your body fat adapted.
Fat adapted. Your cells can only use two things for energy, sugar or fat. Most people are stuck as sugar burners, meaning the inability to use fat when you're not eating.
93% of Americans.
Yeah, they're stuck as sugar burners.
Right.
The only thing you can use is sugar. And when you're not eating, guess what you're doing? Taking muscle and making sugar from it because that's what your cells want. And that lowers your metabolism. People are stuck there using cortisol as energy, not sleeping, right? And this is America right here.
That's
so,
right.
okay, this is what you're doing.
That's the first step.
And your book goes through this, and you have the 30-day guide to this, restoring your, that's what, you're so good at that, right? It's like, because people get overwhelmed, right? We're going to talk about how to become a fat burner. Well, you have the 30-day guide in your book.
Yeah, it's simple. I mean, I could get 95% of people burning fat in 7 days without any symptoms because we keep electrolytes up. I mean, it's all mapped out.
And I'll tell you, if you're not by following his plan, that means you're really toxic. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, right?
Correct.
Then you need my program.
Yeah.
Because, toxins will keep you from burning fat because your mitochondria are massively damaged. Your cells are massively inflamed, toxin driven. Another story. Okay. So we get them making this change, right? And now explain, people, we're throwing a word out there that half of our viewers don't understand, and that's okay. But keto, what is it? What does it mean? So people hear the word keto diet. Explain.
Keto is technically not a diet. It's a metabolic process, and it's been around for as long as humans have existed.
Explain that.
So all of our ancestors did keto. Because, how do I know this? Well, because they didn't
lived back then.
I didn't live back then. I'm not that old, but I know that they didn't have food available all the time. Yeah. And there were times where there was no food, and there was times where there was no carbohydrates, just meat and fat. So what happens when you eat no food or eat just meat and fat? You get into ketosis because you're burning body fat. That's all keto is. It's the byproduct. Ketones are a byproduct of using stored fat. Yeah. And we have stored fat for
because
that
your
reason.
brain can't use fat.
No, it can't use fatty acids. It's a very inefficient fuel source, but it could use ketones.
Loves them.
So the body, the metabolism breaks down stored fat. Those fatty acids, instead of it being sent to the brain, because to your point, it's not efficient, sent to the liver. The liver uses those fatty acids, produces ketones, and that fuels the brain. And it's anti-inflammatory, supports the mitochondria. It also helps with fat loss because you're lowering insulin when you're in ketosis at the same time, which is a byproduct of ketosis. But ketones, nothing new about it. It's just nuanced or new to some people. And there's a lot of misconceptions. There's many different ways to get into ketosis. Not all ways are healthy. The way we teach it is as a tool in the shed, but not the only tool in the shed.
Yeah, we teach it very differently than most people. Most people want to stay in a diet. They're carnivore, plant-based, vegan, vegetarian.
They're always in a certain camp, the keto camp.
Yeah, keto camp. Yeah, he's like, you keep saying keto camp.
Like you're calling me out, man.
You in the plant-based keto, plant-based camp, the
carnivore
animal camp. Yeah, carnivore camp. But no, so we teach that you move in and out of these diets as our ancestors did.
Exactly.
Right, and you made that point, right? But I do believe that, being in a state of keto we're designed for it. There's healing. Bad genes get turned off during times of ketosis. Gut resets. So your cells reset. All these amazing things happen. Yeah. And of course, we would argue that you could stay in it too long. There's carbohydrates are still, something that humans should eat. I say all this because there's so much debate out there about this, but but that said, keto is a healing diet. It's a period of time that does reset a lot of things. So talk about that. Let's talk about, let's say someone out there wants to go into this diet. How do they get in? What should they expect the first, couple weeks?
For most people to enter ketosis, which is a fat burning state, they need to drop their total carbs under 50 grams per day. And those carbs should come from non-starchy green leafy vegetables. I don't recommend doing a dramatic drop in those carbs. I recommend a gradual decrease in those carbs. You also want to increase your healthy
because
fats.
they're stuck as sugar burners.
Correct.
So if you drop it, you're going to feel like crap too fast.
It's called the keto flow, which is really carbohydrate withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
So if you give yourself a 7-day window of gradually lowering your carbs and increasing proteins and fats, eliminating snacks in between meals, by day 7, day 10, you're not burning fat, producing ketones for most people, and you're going to feel much better. Those ketones support the mitochondria in the cell. The mitochondria, we know, produce energy. There's an intelligence to the mitochondria. And back to the survival thing, the cells that are most required for survival have the highest concentration of mitochondria. The brain, the eyes, the ovaries, the testicles, the heart. There's regions of the brain that have over 1 million mitochondria in a single cell because it's responsible for survival. But other cells have hundreds of mitochondria. ketones support those cells that are more metabolically active. So ketones will support the brain the most, the heart.
When I go into ketosis and I go in and out of it, right? The first thing I notice is my brain.
Yes.
Now, people are going to be like, "Oh my God, I
didn't experience that."
Exactly right. You're just not there yet. There's something we call fat adapted, meaning the ability to use fat as an energy. But there's something called keto adapted, meaning your brain's ability to use keto.
That takes weeks.
It takes weeks oftentimes. So hang in there.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I just don't feel good, this diet's not for me. I hear that all the time. No, it's even more for you. Because your brain hasn't even seen ketones in so many, probably since you were nursing from your mother is when the last time it saw ketones.
That's correct.
Yeah. And, so your brain has to get adapted to that energy source, which will transform your brain, man. Transform.
Oh, it will. Yeah. If you're a high performer entrepreneur, like it's a very important tool for you.
Man, when I'm in keto, my brain just works at such a higher level. Even now, it's like I go into keto, it's like, man, my brain just turns on. At the turn of the century, they used keto diets to fix brains.
Right.
Like,
Epilepsy.
the movie First Do No Harm, Lorenzo's Oil. And these were movies about the keto diet fixing kids' brains.
Correct.
It's just.
Then they created medications and forgot all about it.
They forgot about it. Yeah. Neurontin, et cetera. Yeah. So.
You mentioned, we love keto. We don't recommend doing long-term ketosis. We've spoken at low-carb events and they don't agree with our stance on that, but that's okay. We're all about diet variation.
Yeah, we didn't get invited back.
We haven't gotten invited back.
Some of these low-carb events. Because we were telling people, you shouldn't be low-carb all the time, right? It's like
I know. Uh-huh. Yeah. Diet variation is the key, and you've coined that term. Speaking of diet variation, have you seen what's happening now with the latest diet trend, which is called the sugar diet? Have you heard of that yet?
No.
Oh, you have to look it up.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on it. So,
a sugar diet.
The only reason I know about this is because I've gotten so many comments on YouTube saying, "Have you looked into the sugar diet?" Like thousands of comments.
Is it a diet eating sugar? What?
Strictly carbohydrates and sugar, zero fat. And
this is going back, right? Everything cycles.
But zero fat. Kind of Mercola's on this trend right now.
I know. Yeah, it seems, huh?
So it's a high carb, high sugar, even like sugar. Very little or no fat.
Mercola's probably not recommending the sugar, though.
I don't know.
He's
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, okay.
But he's high carb, low fat for sure.
All right.
And people are like, I'm losing weight. I'm feeling good. So yeah, I want to hear your initial thoughts on that.
Well, my initial thoughts are terrible, but my initial thoughts are, here we go again.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're back at it. I mean, low fat, right? It's like, everyone can make an argument for this diet or that diet,
short
right?
Term.
Yeah, short term. It's like, and people get stuck in those camps, right? It's like, okay, I am a plant-based guy. I am
carnivore, keto. I'm sugar guy.
What was the primal diet?
Paleo.
Paleo is the word I'm looking for. Paleo diet was huge for a while, right? Yeah. But all of these, I shouldn't say all of these diets have benefit, because a high sugar diet, I wouldn't say has benefit. High processed anything would be beneficial. But any of these diets, whether it be carnivore, keto, plant-based, have benefits, right?
Yeah. And keto, just to be clear, that's what separates keto.
There's dirty keto.
And it's not a diet; it's a process.
It's a metabolic process.
It's not going away, and it's not a fad. It's a fact. Yeah.
And I love that distinction, because it's not right. A vegan diet is a diet, right? Because you're eating certain foods. Right?
Diet.
Even carnivore, that is a diet. Now, it puts you in a state of keto, which is not a diet, but it's still a diet.
Correct.
You're eating just meat and fat, right?
Correct.
So we're going to talk about that in a minute too.
Yeah, we should talk about my 90 days.
But I mean, I've taught this variation. I do think I was one of the first to talk about the benefits of diet change is really the magic. When you change diet, all these amazing things happen to your microbiome, hormonally. Diet change, our ancestors were forced to do it. I have to say have to be taught to do it today, because most people are eating the same 8 foods that they eat all the time. I know when you say that, people go, "Oh yeah, that's not me." No, you're eating the same foods.
Yeah, do a food journal and find out.
Exactly. But drastic changes in diet, like our ancestor did, really metabolically massively make a difference. So we do call keto a tool. I think any more information on keto, get your Keto Flex. That's basically diet variation. That was your term for it. Keto Flex can teach you how
it's
to do
exactly what I learned from you. I just called it a different name.
Yeah, which is awesome. I've even taught how you can throw in feast days, famine days, and weeks.
5-1-1 rule, 4-2-1 rule.
It works.
Brilliant.
Again, the body, if it thinks it's starving, if you're low carb too long, or in any state too long, the body will think it's starving, and it will start to hold on to fat, burn muscle to survive.
That's right.
And you can add feast days and just change it like that, right? So
doesn't Mark Wahlberg do that?
He does.
You sent me a video of him doing
4-2-1. He was showing his cheat days. I said, no, they're feast days.
I changed the language.
Yeah, exactly. I changed the language. But no, it works. It really works. Bodybuilders figured it out years ago that, carb up and you actually become more lean for the show. And, the body will just absolutely pull the glucose into the muscle, which is awesome. Makes you more full, and then it will fire up fat burning machines again. So people are too strict too long. It's not good. And there's ways to strategize around that.
Adaptation.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the diet variation. Now let's talk about carnivore, because, carnivore diets have a very good purpose. Everyone always says in my family, because again, they're thinking, I have to do this forever. It's a tool. Talk about what a carnivore is. There's different levels of this, and then how you utilize it.
Carnivore is a great approach, especially for somebody who has autoimmune disease.
Yeah, which you struggled with Raynaud's.
Raynaud's and erythromyalgia, two autoimmunes. Because it reduces or eliminates all of these plant chemicals and plant toxins.
Which people are reacting to today. And we'll hold on to that conversation because people have questions there. But
we'll come back to that.
Let's finish that. Yeah.
So when you remove these foods you're reacting to, you have maybe a sensitivity to, it's creating leaky gut, you're going to feel better. I felt a lot better when I started doing carnivore, and a lot of people feel a lot better. So what happens is you are in a state of ketosis, which is beneficial in itself. Mm-hmm. You're keeping your blood sugar and insulin levels pretty stable, which is also important. And you're eating foods like meat that is very bioavailable, minerals. There's red meat. There's not one vegetable that has as many minerals and vitamins as red meat.
Well, fat-soluble vitamins people very lack today.
Correct.
And you find that in meat. So
you're eating meat. So there's different levels to carnivore. The most extreme level is called level 1, where you're only doing beef and salt and beef tallow. That's it. It's called the lion diet.
Boring.
That's what Michaela Peterson does. And I think Jordan Peterson might do that or a variation of it. Mm-hmm. It's boring because it's very restrictive. But if you have severe autoimmune disease, it's really effective short term as you work on the gut, which we'll circle back to. Level 2 is what I just mentioned, plus all animal products. So you could have seafood, bison, you could have
which
lamb.
Is when I've done keto, that's what I've done.
Yeah. Me too. Mm-hmm. Level 3, a little bit more variation where you could now have eggs and dairy. Mm-hmm. And those are probably the top 3 levels. And I usually do a combination.
Yeah, and I've done it without eggs and dairy and with. I think I always like eggs.
Same. So
I've done 3. Dairy I could do with or without, it doesn't matter. But I think the eggs fit into that really well. I think that's still carnivore in my mind.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. And I love eggs. I do well with it. So anyways, when I'll share my experiment. I've done it here and there since 2019, but I did 90 days about a year ago. Mm-hmm. I remember you kept asking me for my results, and we did a whole video on that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did 90 straight days of carnivore, but I did a whole bunch of lab tests on day 1. Blood work, stool test, which was
on your podcast I did with you. We showed those results.
Yeah, exactly.
On one of the podcasts.
Yeah. So if you just go on YouTube and type in Ben Azadi carnivore diet, it's the first video that pops up in there. And Dr. Pompa's going over the stool test. Literally, you were coming to my house, and the results came in like an hour or a few minutes before.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyways, I felt really great. I already had my autoimmune under control because I went upstream with the toxicity part from what I learned from you. So that really wasn't something I would monitor because it was already pretty under control. But you will expect to see improvements in autoimmune flare-ups when you do carnivore.
Yeah.
Now, you'll take care of it when you go upstream for the toxicity issue, but you'll see improvements with the carnivore. Yeah. So my HRV went up during carnivore. My deep sleep went up during carnivore.
HRV is a sign that you're sleeping really good and getting great recovery.
And adapting to stress is good.
Exactly.
Yeah, nervous system is adapting. I was waking up less time throughout the night. I was looking at my Oura ring. I lost some weight, but not muscle. And I lost some body fat, but not muscle as well. And the labs, looked great. Cholesterol was high, but it was not the bad cholesterol. Inflammation was low. C-reactive protein was low. Insulin was sensitive. But, besides that, the stool test was the most interesting thing.
That was listen to this.
Because when I did the stool test, which is looking at my gut microbiome, I did it on day 1. But
I had a prediction.
You had a prediction. And the prediction was that I would see an improvement in my diversity from doing carnivore.
So when you did the stool test, and your diversity wasn't great.
Day one, the diversity was average, not great.
Okay. All right. And they recommendations were?
So it comes with a report, hey, in order to increase your diversity and improve your gut microbiome, I want you to eat less meat, do less keto, have more plants, polyphenols, and fiber.
Okay. Which would seem very logical.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what did I do? The complete opposite.
He did 90 days of keto.
I went 90 days of carnivore.
Carnivore,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't wait, meaning no fiber, no plants, exact opposite.
Yeah.
And my prediction was your diversity is going to improve.
Yep. And on day 90, that's what happened. My diversity improved. Not only that, there were 5 keystone bacteria that showed up on day 90 that did not show up on day 1, and 7 core bacteria.
Which goes with my theory of diet change. The diet change, all of a sudden now, a lot of bacteria that are laying dormant, and maybe not even there, who knows, but they upregulate because the diet shift was so great. They had to upregulate because you need different bacteria to produce different enzymes and chemicals, et cetera, to deal with that diet.
That's right.
Stress, hormesis, the diet change was a stress, and it caused more diversity in the microbiome. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not what most people think.
Absolutely. And I would argue if you stayed in carnivore too long, Dr. Peterson, it would create a monoculture. It would create a decrease in diversity. And again, the moment you switch over, you would see this massive rise. And that's what you saw.
Yeah. So it's not as easy as just taking probiotics is what you're saying?
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. But we're only so easy, right? Yeah. And again, I'm not against probiotics, but I always say that if we're only so easy to add all this diversity to just so people know, the more diverse your microbiome, the healthier your immune system, the better your brain works, et cetera. Diversity is really important. And
diversity of the right bacteria. Not just the bad.
It's funny because remember Dave Asprey.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he was like, I don't understand. It was like, then we ended up realizing, the diversity of, more good and bad. Well, I mean, there's even a little confusion there because arguably people would look at certain bacteria as, just bad, but if it's bad if it's too many, but you still need a little bit of it in relationship.
The ratios.
But it's, we want this diversity of good guys. And so
anyway. That was it. And if anybody wants to see the report, I mean, I put all the labs on my
So now, YouTube. We know that like carnivore in this short term, I think because so many people are reacting to plant toxins as they're called. Okay, we're not talking spray toxins. We're talking that these things that are in plants to protect plants from pests, etc., like lectins, phytates,
oxalates, tannins,
boom. So, okay, these are called plant toxins. People are reacting to these things and these avoidances, histamines, avoidance of these plant toxins. These diets are getting very popular because people do feel better when they avoid these things, right?
They do.
So kind of talk a little bit about this because carnivore gets rid of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben, I want you to share your insights here too. Because so these plant toxins, let's think about it. Why do plants have toxins, right? Like it doesn't make any sense to some people. Well, when we think about how did plants survive, they didn't have the ability to run away from a predator. They didn't have, claws to be able to fight and fend for themselves. So how can they survive? Well, they figured out if we develop these defense chemicals, these plant toxins, and a predator eats them, whether it's an oxalate or a lectin or whatever, phytate, the predator gets sick and remembers, I'm not going to eat that plant again.
Right.
The kale, whatever it was.
Exactly.
That is their way of defending and surviving.
Right.
We don't have to do that because we could fight for ourselves. So now we live in this world where we're toxic and our gut microbiome is destroyed.
Yes.
We have leaky gut, intestinal permeability, and now we are consuming kale, spinach, even almonds are high in oxalates. And our gut is so inflamed and it's a stressor that's triggering autoimmune, making people inflamed, developing kidney stones because of how much our stress bucket is already filled.
Yes.
So when we remove these plant toxins, it's like, it's a stress coming off the body.
Feel better.
You feel better. And people think that's the solution. I just need to avoid the stressors of toxins and plants.
Why didn't somebody tell me this sooner that these things were, a problem to humans, right?
But it's like, avoiding germs and sanitizing yourself.
Right. It's impossible.
Long term, it's eventually going to be bad for you.
Yeah.
You want a positive stressor.
By the way, some people watching this, you just like blew their mind just saying that, right? You mean I shouldn't be using hand sanitizers? Well, there's a problem there. That's another subject.
Yeah. So, long term, it's going to destroy your health. Same thing with this. It's going to, you don't want to avoid the stressor.
Right.
You want to adapt to the stressor.
That's right.
Hormesis.
Yeah, this is what I teach.
King of hormesis. We got to get your license plate to say hormesis.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
On your car.
We just blew it for them because they're running
Somebody's going to get it. Well, they don't know what state you live in. They might not know what state you live in.
All right.
Miami?
Yeah, Miami.
Florida?
Yeah.
Anyways, the solution might be short term to remove the plant toxins, work on going upstream, fixing the gut, and then bringing them back in. Carnivore is the ultimate elimination diet.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Then you start bringing, as you've worked on the gut, because hopefully you've gone upstream.
Bringing them in slowly.
And then your body will tell you if you're
too much, too little. Yeah, and that's the premise of hormesis, right? When I was so sick I couldn't exercise, I just didn't go back to exercising the way I was. I added a little bit to my tolerance, right? And you have to do the same thing. I would argue you're not going to fix the gut without these little hormetic stressors, these plant toxins. I mean, they really show, the studies show that, they stress the microbiome in a way that it adapts and becomes stronger. Just like fasting is a stress that stresses the microbiome.
Red light.
It becomes strong. Red light. All these things.
You said you want to do a study on oxalates in the gut.
Did
you say that?
Yeah, I do. Because, look, you saw heard my interview with Dave Asprey, right?
Yeah.
I love Dave, but we were kind of like trying to find this happy medium. He hates oxalates, right? And I get all of it, but there is this percentage that humans have been exposed to oxalates for how many years, right? Eons, so I believe it's mostly due to the already stressed body, that why oxalates, these little, spiky things in the gut, I get that they're problematic, right? Because of people not adapting to anything, including a little spiky oxalate. But I also believe that there can be a benefit to them.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
When I was doing too many oxalates, a lot of people in the keto space do a lot of oxalates because of the almonds. Almonds are very high in oxalates.
Very high.
And a lot of people do almond cookies on keto, almond flour pizza.
And I would argue that too much is not good.
No.
It's too much stress. It's like marathon runners.
Correct.
It's like,
You're not adapting.
It's like, right. So, that's kind of where Dave and I aligned. It's like, look, people are like massively consuming these things. That's an inflammatory problem in your
kidney
gut.
stones too.
Kidney stones. It can lead to
joint
a lot
pain.
of things. Yeah.
You know what I was getting from my oxalates that I didn't tie it together until later on? Styes. I was getting reoccurring styes, and they're very painful. It's disgusting. It would last a couple weeks. I thought it was because I was working out at the gym and not cleaning my hands.
Yeah.
But it was actually the almonds and the oxalates.
Yeah, wow.
When I lowered my oxalate load, I haven't had a sty in years.
And this is like, come on. We didn't have almond flour.
No, it's just concentrated oxalates.
Concentrated oxalates, right? Yeah. And concentrated lead, I would argue, with some of these things, right?
True.
But yeah, so those levels, it's too many spiky things that are going to be irritants, right? So,
like an almond cookie is not the same as a handful of almonds,
right?
It's powdered, processed almonds, concentrated.
Yeah, totally different, right? So yeah, I line with Dave on that, but so plant toxins, too many obviously could be a problem, right? But your ability to adapt because of massive gut inflammation, leaky gut, is really why we're seeing this massive problem with oxalates.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. So the solution is to go upstream, as it always is.
Yeah, go upstream.
And usually it's a toxicity issue.
Toxins are the big cause of gut problems upstream, right? That doesn't mean that you don't do diets that lower these amounts, because it'll help lower inflammation.
And if you detox when you're in ketosis, you detox even more efficiently. That's what we teach in our programs.
How often do you utilize carnivore a year? How many times do you go into carnivore?
I found a pretty good routine for myself right now. Weekdays, carnivore, weekends not. So 5 days out of the week, usually carnivore. 2 days of the week, I'm not. I'm flexing or feasting on those days.
Oh, so you're doing that much carnivore? You're saying keto?
Right now I'm doing that.
Right now you're doing that, right? And see, I love that, right? Because I do the same thing. Right now I'm doing this. Like, people are always like, "What do you?" Well, right now I'm doing this,
Correct.
right? But I'm always varying my diet, just like you.
Yeah, that was very. Yeah, so
it's
I'm doing
a matter
a 5-2 approach here.
Yeah, it's a matter of how many carbs, because I've been home stretches. I've been super low carb, not carnivore, but super low carb keto, and I vary it around. I move in and out of it, and I wish that I could just do carnivore straight up keto in the winter months. I believe there's benefits to that. Yeah. Eating seasonally with I believe there's great benefits to that, but it's very hard when you travel. So,
Yeah, and you travel a lot.
I know. I try to do the best I can there, but not perfect, folks. We don't need perfection, obviously.
Just progress.
Yeah, but vary your diet. It'll help massively with people.
That's metabolic freedom.
Yeah, it's metabolic freedom right there. Yeah, great book. And again, I think that how simple you make it is really the magic, because people, they don't feel well half the time. And if it's not simple enough, these steps, they're going to
feel overwhelmed. And,
they're going to feel
paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. How have you ever entered in just for fun to see what happened? Well, probably not with your autoimmune. I'm answering your question, but trying just like plant-based for a period of time, or that would drive your autoimmune maybe, huh?
Maybe. I don't know. I've done a lot of detox.
But you haven't done it.
I did a 30-day stint in plant-based again back in 2018 before I started working with you. I didn't feel that great, but that was before I really did more detox.
It'd be interesting to see what it would do now.
Yeah, I'm down to do it.
Yeah.
It would be a month where I know I don't have a lot of like speaking and like a lot of like workload. Maybe December.
My advice would be go in slowly.
Yeah, gradually.
Because your microbiome hasn't adjusted.
Yeah.
Right. So if you just went in heavy, you're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I would say go in slowly to some of these plant toxins that, again, there's a certain, amount of bacteria that you need to break these things down.
Right.
And right now you probably have very, very little.
Yeah. My body's not used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing with stress. If you take stress completely out, you become weaker, right? Yeah. It's like when I was chemically sensitive, I got into a full avoidance. Like I was trying to de-chemicalize my life. I mean, every nuance, right? I mean, driving myself absolutely insane. And then I someone told me about this group of people who moved to the deserts in Arizona and live in porcelain trailers. No EMF, EMF free, chemical free, everything free, right? So my next question was obvious. Wow, are they healed? Oh no, quite the opposite. They become recluses. They can't even enter cities anymore. Wow. Really? Oh yeah, because they've lost all tolerance now. So they actually got worse. That put me on a different trajectory as far as my knowledge goes. So there's a reason for that. That actually led me to the full understanding of the premise of hormesis, meaning, what it says is a certain amount of stress is needed, right, for us to actually be tough enough to live in society, right? A certain amount. I don't know. That amount's different for everybody.
Correct.
But I knew that if they got worse, then some form of introduction is going to be healthy. And that's what I did. And I got my body saying, okay, it's okay. We're not going to die. And I could live in society amongst chemicals again.
So interesting.
Yeah. So my point of saying all that is this lectin plant conversation, you can't just jump in. Like if I just jumped into putting cologne on every day,
you're going to react.
I would have reacted like crazy. But I had to ease into it again, and I lifted my tolerance.
Just like cold plunging, right? You ease it, you start it the right way, you ease into it. Yeah. So many people in our space, they violate hormesis. They don't understand it. Yeah. They talk about it, but they don't actually get it.
Talk about cold, because people know I'm not a critic of cold plunging. Okay, I'm a critic of the way people do it.
Yeah.
They violate the premise of hormesis. They do it too much, too long. And right now, everyone goes to extremes. Right now, the whole thing is women should never cold plunge. Okay. Now, look,
they're forgetting hormesis.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be the first to say that most women, probably do better with less, right? Less cold, less time, whatever it is, because of hormesis. And there's different reasons that they wouldn't adapt to cold as well. But you had an experience with that, and I think it'll help people understand this. So talk about that.
Yeah, and we could apply cold plunging to all of these biohacks. They're all stressors, sauna, red light, PEMF, but cold plunge is popular. So when I got my plunge, I knew I had Raynaud syndrome. And for those who don't know, Raynaud syndrome is an autoimmune condition where you lack blood flow to your extremities. And when if I was holding this cup and it was ice in here and I would hold it, let's say for like a minute, after a couple minutes or so, I would take my hands off and I would look at my fingers and it would go white and purple because of the blood flow. My body's not delivering to my fingers. But I've done a lot of work for it and I've improved it. But when I got my plunge a couple of years ago, I wanted to test it out. I knew that the plunge could be, you would think if you have Raynaud, stay away from doing a cold bath and a cold plunge because they're telling you to stay away from anything that's cold. Right. You would think, but I wanted to use hormesis to actually adapt and improve my Raynaud's.
So that was the right thinking.
Yeah.
Because they would say, oh, you can't do cold.
Never do cold plunge.
Oh, you can't stay away from it.
I wanted to show actually it's what you need to use because I've learned that from you. It's what you need to use to improve your Raynaud. So when I first did it, and it wasn't cold, it was 70 degrees, but I live in Miami, I'm heat adapted. I got a small little flare up doing like 3 minutes in 70 degrees. So the next time I did it, I did a minute and a half at 70, no flare up. Okay, that was good. I adapted. So then
you obeyed hormesis.
I obeyed hormesis.
You saw that you adapted to this, not to this. You changed your level.
Correct. So then I went from 70 to 65, spent a minute there, no flare up, 65 to 60, spent a minute there, no flare up. And I kept doing that and I kept adapting to it now to the point where it could be 39 degrees, 3 minutes, no flare up.
Wow.
Because I slowly adapted to the stressor.
That story tells the premise of hormesis.
Yeah.
Because just like a good athlete, right? Exercise is stress. That's why it works. If you don't adapt to exercise, you actually get worse, weaker, slower, whatever it is that you're trying to,
too little
coaches.
or too much.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is a good coach takes you up the stress ladder slowly, making sure, looking at your parameters, making sure you're adapting to the stress. And if you're not, they back off because if you overtrain, boom, down. So it's a little bit at a time, we call that raising the hormetic ceiling, the ability to adapt to stress. And a little bit at a time, and all of a sudden you're up here at a very high level of exercise adapting.
So you apply that to your biohacks.
That's it.
You apply it to everything.
Yep, you do.
You always say when you view your health from the lens of hormesis, it will change everything you think about health, the way you view health.
You have to view your life through hormesis, meaning so many things are applied to this premise of stress can be good if you adapt. If you're overstressing or not stressing enough, as we pointed out, that's an issue. So
now, can it get a little tricky? Because sometimes Natasha will have some seed oils and I'll say, Natasha, what are you doing? And she'll say, but Dr. Pompa says hormesis.
Yeah. You know what? Let's have that conversation. It's a high level conversation because, you would say this, well, okay, the problem is the amount of time those stay in the body, which can absolutely change everything, right? So I used to say they stay half-life in the cells was 4 months.
Yeah. That's fish oil.
And but really it's 2 years half-life.
Yeah. 680 days, 2 years.
Yeah. So that means though, that promise is by taking in a little that stays, it's absolutely, there's no adaptation because it's accumulating at such a high level.
So I'll let you explain that to my fiance because when I explain it, not that she eats seed oils all the time, but sometimes she'll get a hit and she'll say hormesis. Yeah. What about alcohol? Can alcohol be hormesis?
Well, listen, I absolutely can. It's funny because I know right now on social media, alcohol is like a negative, right? It'll flip soon. This is how this things work. Yeah, that's what it always does, right?
Yeah, you're more pro alcohol than I am.
Yeah, well, I pro alcohol in the sense of
enjoyment
and enjoyment,
not overdoing it.
I look at the benefits of it, but this. Have you ever seen me drink more than 3? I should say even more than 2, right? No. I don't. Yeah, and
you do it in the environment of high quality relationships and conversations. But most people, when they drink alcohol, don't do that.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. I learned it appropriately, from my father, but I think that, look, alcohol has a hormetic effect. Your body has to deal with that stress, and it does, and all these positive things can occur because of it. Problem is that people overstress it, and it creates, and again, stress could be every day, a little bit, or it could be too much all at once a week. What do you call that? Binge drinking. So it's so easy to overstress with alcohol because of the way people feel. They like the way they feel, right? So I would argue that alcohol for certain people, they should literally never do it because they'll become addicted and it's bad for them. I make that argument and I agree with that, right? But alcohol for some people, when you look at the studies of all the blue zones and all these people that live long, they all drink a little bit of alcohol. They do. You can't argue with it. There was another study, I think it was on the French, right? And the fact is the people that had a little bit of wine every day had the best, markers for everything. And so there is hormesis.
But it's hard though to look at those studies and apply it here in the US.
No, I get it because we have other stressors too. But.
And we're more toxic than they are too. And they're also...
Well, that study was looking at French to French though.
Okay.
Yeah. Meaning that, the people that were alcohol drinkers did better. But I'm I'm not saying it's a health food.
You're just saying it can be a hormetic stressor positively if done right, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. It can be a hormetic stressor. But here's the thing. Some of the benefits, maybe people argue the benefits of wine are the certain chemicals that are in there, the polyphenols that are so bad, which they are, right? But maybe the better benefit is the fact that it does loosen up. The
social part.
The Italians like the social aspect of it. It loosens up the conversation. Even one glass of wine.
I think that is the biggest benefit. Because then you practice more gratitude probably.
Absolutely.
Because you're enjoying probably the conversation more, loosens you up a little bit. What they call it, liquid courage, I think they call it, right? Yeah. So I could see that. Yeah.
But look, I'm the first to say that most people, especially in the United States, abuse it. It's a toxin. It's a poison. It is a toxin. But we're talking about plant toxins, right? As being beneficial. Alcohol is the same thing. But here's the mistake people make. Your hormetic curve for alcohol is different than mine. Well, understand that, right? It's like people don't. And again, arguably, some people are just not going to do well with it at all and shouldn't drink it. But again, your body should tell you that. It tells you that.
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to it. Controversial, but I love it. I throw those social media videos out there all the time.
I see them all the time.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of alcohol. But okay, this is an important topic, one of your favorites. So what is vitamin G? How do they purchase vitamin G? Where can they buy vitamin G?
Vitamin G, chapter 10 of Metabolic Freedom goes deep into the science of this one supplement. This one supplement, if you take it, you'll lose weight. You'll reverse your symptoms, whether it's autoimmune, whatever you're dealing with, helps with brain fog. It's just, Dr. Joe Dispenza has done brain scans on people taking vitamin G. And he's seen... It's
the greatest deficiency humans have, evidently.
It is. Most people are deficient in vitamin G. They are, for sure. Mm-hmm. And that's why they're symptomatic. And Joe Dispenza, when he did brain scans on individuals taking vitamin G, he saw instantaneously they were producing oxytocin, dopamine, GABA, these chemicals that make them feel good. And he also did these blood work tests on them, and he saw that their immune system, their IgA levels, shot up through the roof, which protects your immune system.
Yeah.
And it lowered their cortisol levels, which was really important for the immune system. There's a UC Davis study that shows people who take vitamin G daily have healthier blood pressure levels, healthier blood sugar levels. Harvard put a study out in JAMA looking at 49,275 nurses. And that's a big study.
Yeah.
And it showed the nurses who took vitamin G every day had a 9% reduction in dying from all-cause mortality and a 15% reduction in dying from cardiovascular disease. Okay, we'll do one more study before I share where you can get it.
Okay. And how to dose it.
Yeah. Vitamin G is one of the most potent things you could take for your mitochondria. This is a study I also put in the book on PubMed. You could look it up. It looked at caregivers. Caregivers, they have a tough job. Talk about stress. Like, that's a really stressful job. Nurses, exactly. People working at hospice facilities. Mm-hmm. And it measured their mitochondrial health via a index called Mitochondrial Health Index. And it showed the nurses who took vitamin G at night had healthier mitochondria the following morning versus the nurses who didn't take vitamin G.
So you want to take it at night?
You want to take it at night.
Okay.
That's the best time to take it. You want to take it first thing in the morning before you have your coffee, before you eat a meal. And it's not a sponsor of the Dr. Pompa podcast. We don't have an affiliate link for vitamin G because vitamin G is the feeling of gratitude. And notice how I said...
So it's free.
It's free.
That's good.
There's no toxicity limit. There's no negative feedback loop, meaning if you took a hormone like testosterone, your body stops producing it and you don't get the benefit.
No negative feedback loop.
No negative feedback loop. The more you take, you still produce it. Or appreciate it. And I lost my train of thought. Vitamin G. Oh, here's the train of thought. So vitamin G, the best time to take it is in the morning.
Yeah.
Because that's when your subconscious mind is most impressionable. And those studies are legit on gratitude. And I said the feeling of gratitude. Notice how I didn't say the practice of gratitude. It's not the practice of gratitude. It's not an intellectual exercise.
It's a feeling that's created.
It's an emotional feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to treat it like a checklist, and there's benefits to doing that. But when you actually,
I think when I drink my glass of wine, I automatically
feel the gratitude.
More feeling of gratitude. I get a little more appreciative.
That would be a benefit.
And if all these benefits are on gratitude, you give me just one glass of wine. That's pretty much all I have, right? It's like I do get a little more gratitude.
Yeah, well, that's you. That's you.
That's
everybody.
Me.
Yeah,
that's me.
That's your hormetic curve, and But it's, it's a universal law. What you appreciate appreciates. Whatever you feed energy into expands. So what you think about, we talked about the thoughts earlier. What you think about, which is what we're talking about now, you bring about in your life. You literally rewire your brain. The reticular activating
it's called
system.
Neuroplasty. Science of rewiring.
Exactly. Literally, every single time you feel gratitude, you are rewiring your brain through the reticular activation system. And why do I have my pinky up? Because that's the size of it.
Yeah, okay.
It's in your brainstem. That's
okay.
why. Yeah, that's the reticular activation system. It's the size of your pinky. I'm not just being fancy
here.
here.
I thought you were $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
$1 million.
No, but this is, God put it there for a reason. It's really interesting when you think about this RAS. If God didn't put this RAS in our brain, the reticular activation system, the brain would short circuit because there are millions of things that stimulate the brain, and we need a filter for that.
Yeah.
So we literally trained this RAS to filter out what we have taught it to not be important and only see what we have taught it to be important. For example, if you've been in the habit of focusing on your problems, all you see is problems. All you see is problems. If you focus on what's happening in the world, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, that's all you're going to see proof of that.
Dude, you bought your new Audi, right?
I did.
And all of a sudden, everyone's buying Audis. So
I saw my Audi everywhere.
The amount was the same. Now you just see them.
Exactly. When you buy a new car,
there's
exactly it.
God, there's so many.
Did everybody buy it because of me?
No. Yeah,
because now
all
the
you're
RAS.
doing is seeing those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you do research on something, a car, a dress, or whatever, and you buy it, now you start seeing it everywhere.
That's the reticular
activation system. So, in other words, when you start to intentionally feel gratitude every day, now you start to see things to feel grateful for. Yeah. The stressings become blessings.
Wow.
The obstacles become opportunities.
Man, the pain becomes purpose.
Pain becomes purpose. And then what's the next thing?
Promise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how you live your life. Gratitude, vitamin G.
Man, that's it, man. We got it right there.
That's it.
Dude, where do they buy the book?
MetabolicFreedomBook.com if you want to get some free bonuses, a free course on the metabolism, some exclusive interviews with one of them, the GOAT right here, Dr. Pompa, Dr. Jason Fung, Megan Raynaud, Cynthia Thurlow. Or if you don't want the courses, it's available anywhere. Books are sold, Audible, Spotify, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you want.
You and I have done some things together. Where can they find those? We did a webinar together.
Yeah, let's get a link and put it in the notes.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the notes for that. Yeah. And your page, well, you said your podcast is Metabolic Freedom.
benazadi.com is the website. There's a contact form, programs, everything on there. I lost my dad to the complications of diabetes in 2014. I wish I knew what I learned from you and what we're teaching now. It would have saved his life. And when he passed away, it left a hole in my heart. I was pissed off. I was confused. I was bitter. I was resentful. And then I was inspired because I wanted to find out why he suffered and why are so many people suffering with diabetes and obesity. And with that mountain that I was given, now it is my purpose and calling to show them where the mountain could be moved. So because of that suffering that I'm grateful for, I'm grateful that I went through all of that. My dad's birthday was last week. He would have been 92 years old. I went to the cemetery and visited him and told him that the book was doing well. I dedicated it to him. I had a conversation with him. But out of that, all the pain came this purpose, and it came something really beautiful. And Dr. Pompa and I were creating the largest case study ever done on reversing type 2 diabetes. We're going to take 1 million people in the next 10 years, and we're going to reverse their diabetes, and we're going to show this to the world and change the entire way, the paradigm people view diabetes.
Amen.
And if I didn't go through the pain with my dad, I'm grateful for it. I don't think we would be doing what we're doing now. So we'll drop a link for you to learn more about that. If you know somebody who has diabetes or if you're diabetic, please learn more.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, that's the purpose of this podcast, right? To get people to understand that the pain. I just interviewed Dr. Tony Jimenez, and he said the pain is where the purpose begins, right? And it's it's so true. That's where it begins. And yet people sometimes choose it to be their end, when you could choose it to be your purpose. And God has a promise always in it, right? And when people say, I'm not sure what my purpose is, look in your pain. I say the same to you. Look in your pain. From pain to purpose. How many people right now you're going, need to hear this, right? Pre-diabetics, people that aren't eating well, same battles as we do. Please share. Share the podcast. It's the only way we grow. Like it. Do all those things. Sure. Thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you, Go.
Yeah, love you.
Love you, bro.